I was super excited to see so many new subs join after Nigel's video the other day. It is a gorgeous day today in Montana, and Nigel is actually due for a hoof trim, so that is what we're going to do today. He's actually about 2 weeks overdue to have his feet trimmed, but I've really been trying to rest my back and I'm probably at about 85% now, so I think it's safe if I trim him today. If you guys haven't seen Nigel's updated video, I will link it in the description below. As you can see, his heels are pretty long and his feet overall are just a little bit long. I did notice on this foot that he does have part of his hoof wall breaking away, and if I were to leave him any longer, then his foot would start growing a little bit slanty. I don't know if you can see that or not. That is one of the really great things about me doing my own horse's feet. I see these guys every day, so if something's not quite right, I can fix it right away. I did want to give you guys a better look at Nigel's falling crest. I had a lot of questions about it in the comments of his video, and his mane really isn't all that heavy. His neck, the tissue is really wide. The mane can certainly add extra weight, but it's mostly a metabolic condition. In the winter, since he's getting fed extra and he's not able to get enough exercise, his neck does seem to get a little bit more crusty. It does shrink down quite a bit in the summer when he's running around more. And I completely failed at videoing the first foot of his that I trimmed. He does have a few little bruising spots on the bottom of this foot. And you can see here his frog is starting to shed off. A lot of people will cut those off. I'm just going to leave his on so he can have that protection. The bruises are from walking on really hard ground or ice. These actually probably happened when we had that really cold snap a few weeks ago. Due to Nigel's metabolic condition, he is prone to laminitis, and some horses are sensitive to the cold, so I would not be surprised if that was triggered and he got a little bit of bruising on the bottom of his foot because of that. All in all, his first foot shaped up pretty nicely. I swear one of these days I'm going to get a much better hoof trimming video for you guys, but I don't think that today is going to be that day. Nigel has the tiniest little feet. Sometimes it's really hard to get the nippers in just the right spot around his foot, especially around the toe where it's teeny tiny. Compared to how disgusting his feet were when I got him, he has beautiful feet, especially for such a little tiny horse. A lot of time the hoof care on these little guys goes by the wayside and their feet can get overgrown really quickly. Nigel is at 8 weeks right now, which is pretty long. I like to keep these guys on a 4-week schedule just to tweak everything. Nigel does tend to get a lot of growth at his heel, which is very common for little horses like this. If you don't address it regularly, it can become out of hand really quickly. Once I get this foot cleaned out, I think you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. This is that one that had a little bit of chunk missing from the hoof wall, so I'm going to clean it out and then show you guys how much heel he's grown over just the last 8 weeks. It has been a little bit wet here lately. It's starting to warm up, but that is probably the reason why his hoof wall broke away right there. Unfortunately, I do know people that only get their horses and ponies trimmed twice a year. If you left all this heel on this horse, his feet would probably start to curl over, which is what was happening when I first purchased him. I know a lot of people buy these tiny horses thinking that they don't require as much work as a normal size horse, but in fact the opposite is true. If anything, these guys require a lot more care, more frequent trimming, and typically a special diet because they do have so many metabolic issues. Another thing that's really nice about me doing all of my own horses' farrier care is I can change their trims to the season. I did leave a lot of extra heel on this guy for this trim, and there is a very practical reason for that. When the snow melts and it gets a little bit muddy, the horses tend to step and slide, and that sliding will wear down their heels faster than their toes. If I would have trimmed him down to the correct height for this horse, it's very likely that he would go heel sore and his toes would get too long, and then that would create another problem that I would have to fix in the spring. So instead of adding shoes later, I'm just going to leave his extra foot and he can wear it down as he slides around in the mud. I tried to take off only as much as necessary, but this horse does need his bars trimmed down. And then to keep his hoof wall from cracking again, I'm just going to put a little tiny bevel around the edge, and hopefully that will help with any splitting that might occur in between now and the next time I need to trim him. It took probably about a year for him to start growing normal hooves after I bought him. He does get a few supplements for his old age, but he doesn't get a specific hoof supplement. When these guys have the proper nutrition, they can grow a proper foot just fine typically. I was really surprised how clean he was when I got to the barn today. I was expecting that he would be a little mud puppy. Nigel does have trouble lifting up his left hind leg sometimes, so I'm going to give him a little bit of a break before I do that last leg. I've got his dinner soaking, which is just some beet pulp and alfalfa cubes. Since he's being such a good boy, I guess I'll give him a little bit of a snack. He is kind of a turd to give treats to because I don't think he ever got any before he came to live with me. So he could be kind of aggressive sometimes. He can also be a little bit of a diva. Since he's not too interested in his regular dinner, I'm just going to give him some of these really tasty senior snacks. These ones break apart pretty easy, so he can eat these even though he's missing a bunch of teeth. Even though I've had this guy for almost 3 years, I think he still just tolerates me. I don't think he actually likes being around humans very much. So every time I handle him, especially when we're doing something where he has to be patient for quite a long time, I try to make it a little bit more enjoyable for him. His feet are shaping up nicely, but we do have one more foot to do. You can see here that he tried to kick out at me, and that is something that's very common in older horses or horses that have stifle pain or SI joint pain. If you lift the leg straight up in the air instead of pulling it backwards, they will kick like that. Nigel is actually one of the reasons that I started trimming all of my own horses again. I had a much more seasoned farrier than I come out and check his feet because they were foundered when I got him. But they had a lot of trouble just even getting Nigel to lift up his feet. I knew it was due to pain and he was going to need some special things in order to get trimmed successfully. And I mean, this horse is over 30 years old, so you can't really lift his legs up as high as you would a normal horse or even a full-size horse. When I trim his feet, I always make sure I have extra time because I never know how many breaks he's gonna need. He has a little corn forming in this heel. You can see on this foot his frog is starting to shed off as well. I'll show you guys a close-up of one of his front feet because he can hold them up a little bit longer. From this angle you can really see how curved their feet are. That frog in the middle is like a big shock absorber for these guys. I've unfortunately picked up horses at auctions that have basically no frog left. It has so much thrush in it. And believe it or not, that can be a leading cause of some severe lameness in horses that people don't ever think about. It is really sad to think that somebody maybe is going to take their horse to an auction because they can't get it sound and all they need to do is treat the animal for thrush. After I'm done tidying up all of Nigel's feet, I am going to put a little bit of the hoof dressing on his feet. His frogs that are shedding underneath the old frog, there can get some gunk up under there. And the hoof dressing that I use will help make sure that he doesn't get thrush or any other fungus or bacteria goo going on under there. It seems as though Nigel is really starting to lose his patience right about now. He is not a horse that really likes to be doted on. He is looking a little bit scraggly, and while he's in here, I am going to give him a nice grooming session. It looks like he just wants a few more treats. These mashes that I have sitting, they look like they're finally done. This was a pelleted feed when I first started soaking it. These are for Frisco Bill and Nigel. I do have a bucket of alfalfa cubes soaking for Frisco as well. I typically like to use the pellets, but I had this bag of cubes left over from the cold snap, so Frisco's gonna get to eat it. I still also have to clean the stalls inside tonight. Nigel's hair is so long in the winter, I can't use regular grooming tools. This is a hairbrush and it gets down to his skin and he actually really loves it. A regular curry comb, when you twirl it around on his really long hair, it gets stuck and pulls it out. Look how long that is, that's nuts. So I found this is just the easiest thing in the winter time. He likes to use his legs as a little napkin when he's eating his mash too, so they get pretty green sometimes. I did get a lot of comments on his video about why I don't leave his hair braided. I honestly have never had any luck keeping braids in horses' hair when they're turned out. They usually just get snagged on things or the other horses chew them out and then they have a nasty short mane, kind of like what Primrose's look like now. I did try braiding Nigel's forelock for a little bit this summer and the bugs got so bad his eyes actually got swollen shut from all the bugs getting in them, so I won't probably ever braid his forelock again. I'm going to give him a quick brush with a regular brush while his hair stuff soaks in. I think he's running out of patience now, so I'm going to hurry through the rest of his grooming and get his mane and tail brushed out, and then I'm going to turn him out. He is really starting to get wiggly and he knows it's about time for dinner, so I need to wrap it up. For the most part, his mane stays pretty tangle free. I don't remember the last time I brushed it, but I'm able to get through it pretty quickly. One thing he does really hate is having his forelock brushed, but it does get matted with his winter hair if I don't go through it every now and again. He did have ear mites when I got him, and those are really painful to have for a lot of horses, especially if it's something that's been going on for a long time. Eventually, I finally finish on this guy and he is ready to go outside again. He does even have a few spots in his mane. This isn't dirty hair, it's black hair from his spots. I can't wait for you guys to see him when he sheds out in the spring. He is a really pretty horse now, but he is gorgeous when all of his winter hair is finally gone. This little guy is totally over our whole session today. I wanted him to stand still so I could get some pictures of him for the thumbnail for the video, but he just did not want to stand still. I think he was afraid that I was going to catch him again and snuggle him some more. After running around for a few minutes though, he started to calm down. I think it was pretty darn close to 50 degrees today, which is crazy for this time of year. And for a sassy old pony, this guy cleaned up pretty nice. He's a little bit dingy still, but there's not much I can do about that until it's summertime. As the sun started to go down, I gave him his dinner and then went and fed all of the other horses. Thank you guys so much for watching and stay tuned for the next video.